So good morning. We'll be continuing today's lecture in continuation with the topic of points and crossings. And in the last lecture, we had started with actually what are the components of points. So before that, just to revise quickly that what actually we are discussing, tried to discuss is the concepts of points and crossing. And points, it is nothing but the starting point or the starting location at which you are providing some arrangement so that your train, it can go from one track to another. And crossings, it is nothing but a gap which is provided in your system, in the system of points and crossing, where your flange of the wheel, it can easily pass over the gap. So in this typical picture on the bottom left corner, if you see, so this starting point or the starting section is nothing but the point or switch. Point is also called as the switch. And this section where you see two tracks diverging from each other, so that is nothing but the crossing. So this is what we started with, and then we saw what is a turnout. So turnout is nothing but a combination of your points as well as crossing. So as you can see here, if you see this left side track, the extreme left, so this is the points, the start point where your track starts to divert, and this is the crossing part. So that this complete, it will be called as a turnout, which consists of your points as well as the crossing. Okay. So now we started with the part that I told you we will be discussing this complete turnout in some sections so that it's easy for you to understand. So in that case, we started with this left-hand turnout. Left-hand turnout, we saw the initial terms such as the facing direction and the trailing direction, which is in the opposite to the facing direction. And facing direction is nothing but the direction in which you first encounter a point or a switch and then you encounter a crossing. So that is called as a facing direction. And this trailing direction is nothing but the direction in which you first encounter the crossing and then you encounter a point or a switch. So we started our discussion with this section, or we'll be focusing today's lecture on this section totally, that what all goes into this points or a switch of a turnout. So we already started the discussion or session with what are the stock rails and tongue rails, but to start afresh, I'll start from the first point itself. So we'll go one by one. So the first component of a switch or a point, it is nothing but stock rail, or more appropriately, it's a pair of stock rail. Now, what do you mean by that? As you can see in the figure on the right hand side, so this is a straight track, and then it is going to, or there is going to be another track which is branching out from the straight track. Okay. So on the straight track, whatever are the rails, so they are the main rails of the track to which the tongue rails fit closely. So in this section, if you see, so stock rail is nothing but the main rail. So the extreme left and extreme right are the stock rail, to which the tongue rails, this is the tongue rail, which is the tapered one. So the tongue rails are fitted closely against them. So those are the stock rails. It's as simple as it can be. And these rails, they are not much different. They are made of the same material and or the same steel that has been used for other tracks in other sections of this rail. So that is nothing but a pair of stock rail. It is shown here as well. Okay. So that's the first component that we have, a pair of stock rails. The second component is the important one, which is the tongue rail. Now, if you see again in the figure on the right hand side, it's the same figure which was shown previously. Just I have zoomed or enlarged the portion near the tongue rail section. So a tongue rail, it is nothing but a rail which lies between two stock rails. So as you can see on the right side, So these are the stalk rails, the extreme left and extreme right, and to which or in between those stalk rails you have this pair of tongue rails, which you can see at the starting point they are a bit tapered, and as you go towards the crossing side, it becomes the thickness or the width of the head of the rail. It goes on increasing, and then it takes the same width as the width of your head of stalk. Portion is nothing but it can vary anywhere from between 0.64 centimeter to 0.95 centimeter at the toe of a switch. Now, toe of a switch we will be seeing in detail what is a toe of a switch, but just to give you a glimpse over here, so toe of a switch is nothing but the starting point of the switch. Okay, so this point, if I just highlight this point, so this point is nothing but toe of a switch or starting point of a switch. And of course, we know that tongue rails are movable because you have to allow the movement of the wheel of the railway from one track to another. So for that purpose, obviously you need to move the tongue rail. So it's a movable part, and they move together. It's not like one of the tongue rail moves on the left side and another moves on the right side. It's not that. Both the tongue rails are joined together, and then whatever is the movement, either left or either right, both the movements are simultaneous or they happen together for both the tongue rails, and the same distance or gap is maintained in that movement. So if I move this tongue rail on the left hand side by some distance or the gap that you see here, the same gap or the same distance, this tongue rail on the right side, that will also move to the left. And these tongue rail, as you can just predict, that these are movable parts, but also a lot of wear and tear is going to happen on this part because it's movable, as well as the load is coming from the moving wheels. So due to that case, these tongue rails, they are specially made of high carbon or high manganese steel. So high carbon steel or high manganese steel, they are very well, those materials are good to withstand a wear and tear of your system. So that's why these tongue rails are made up of those high carbon or high manganese steel. So this is about the tongue rail. Coming to the third component, you have a heel block or distance block. Now, most of the times, again, these two terms, they can be used interchangeably, as in heel block are also known as distance block, or distance blocks can be also known as heel block. But if you see, both are a bit different, not much. A bit difference is only in the in the sense of placing the material, and all the other characteristics of heel block as well as distance block, they are the same. So heel block, it is nothing but on the right hand side, if you see the top figure, so this is the starting point, or this is the toe of my switch, where I can see a tongue rail and a stalk rail in picture. And as I go towards this direction, so this direction will be towards the crossing. So as I go towards the crossing, the location at which you will find such block. Basically, tongue rail is nothing but it's a movable one. So if I say this is my tongue rail and it has to move, so if I just denote that this is the second position or the position after which it has been moved. So obviously this tongue rail, it will be pivoting at some location. So that location is this location or this location in specific, the one which I am highlighting in a blue dot. So that those will be the locations at which your tongue rail will pivot, or it will move through those locations or about those locations. So at that location, there will be a connection between your stalk rail and tongue rail, because if I denote my stalk rail with this another color, or maybe green color. So this is the stock rail. So just understand the concept. So the green ones are the stock rails, the red ones are the tongue rails, which are at the initial location, and then they have been moved to the location which is denoted in the blue color. So now I told you the whole tongue rail or the tongue rail throughout its length, or the tongue rail moves from left to right or right to left. So it's just as a movement with one end fixed. So you can just assume it as a cantilever beam. So at cantilever beam, you have one end of the beam fixed and other end is free to move in up and down direction, though it's not desirable in case of a beam. But you can assume that condition over here, that it is nothing but one end of this tongue rail, it is fixed, and then the other end is free to move. So the fixed end, it is fixed to nothing but the stock rail. So the location at which it is fixed to the stock rail, that is nothing but the heel section. Okay. So just as a human leg has two parts if you divide it, the toe part and the heel part. Okay. So the toe is nothing but the starting part or the front portion of your leg or foot, not leg also, a foot, human foot. So the starting portion of your human foot, it has fingers, so that part is nothing but the toe, and the back part or the end part or rear part of your human foot, that is a heel. So similar way, in this point also, point or switches, the starting point where you actually have the tongue rail, the start of the tongue rail, that is nothing but toe of your point or a switch. And then the end part or the rear part where your tongue rail ends, that is nothing but the heel section. So at this heel section, what is going to happen is there is going to be a gap between your stock rail and tongue rail, and it has to be there because it will allow the movement of the wheel or the flange of the wheel. It will be moving in this, or it will be facilitating, this gap will be facilitating for the movement of your wheel from one track to another. Okay. So now in this case, you can see the tongue rail on the right side, it is touching the stock rail, and the tongue rail on the left side, it is having a gap. So in this, what will happen is the wheel, it will follow this tongue rail on the right side, which I am showing with the green arrow. So the wheel, due to the flange attachment, it will be following this tongue rail, and then subsequently it will follow the, or the left side wheel, it will follow the stock rail, and then accordingly your train, it will go to the direction which is there towards the crossing. But the main part is at this heel portion, there has to be a gap maintained, because from here onwards, your tongue rail is going to move. Okay. So the whole tongue rail or the whole rail towards the complete length, it doesn't move. The only portion which is movable is this portion, and which is known as the length of the tongue rail as well. So that movable portion starts from the heel and ends at the toe. So at this heel portion, you have to be having a fixed width, and that width should not change even if the tongue rail moves left or right. So to maintain that gap between the tongue rail and the stock rail, you need to provide some rigid material so that the gap or the distance is maintained. So that material is, or that component is nothing but a heel block. So heel block, it is nothing but heel blocks are inserted between the heel of the tongue rail and stock rail. So understand this, that in a switch or a point, the toe of a switch or toe of a point, it is that location at which you first encounter your tongue rail, or the tongue rail and the stock rails come into picture, both come into picture. And then the heel of the switch or a point, it is that location. At that location, it will act as a pivot, and your tongue rail will move about that location, or the movement will be about this heel section. So that heel section has to be having a gap which is to be maintained between the stock rail and the tongue rail. So that is nothing but the heel section, and to maintain this gap you need some blocks which are made up of a metal, solid metal blocks are there, and those are nothing but the heel blocks. Okay. And as you can see, they are made up of cast iron, and they are used to provide a clear gap for the wheel flange. Okay. So this gap has to be the same throughout, whether the tongue rail is touching on the right side of the stock rail or the right stock rail, or the tongue rail is touching to the left stock rail. In any of the case, the distance between the tongue rail and the stock rail at the heel section, it should be constant, and that constant is maintained with the help of this heel blocks. Okay. And there is something called another component, that is distance blocks. So distance blocks, as I told you, they are same as heel blocks, no difference. The material is same. It is made up of solid CI, cast iron, and then the only difference is the location in which it is used. So heel blocks, they are used at the heel of a point or a switch, and distance blocks, they are used at the check rails. Now we will be seeing this check rail concept in the crossing part, but for now just understand that there is something called a check rail. So in this figure at the bottom, you can see 3 rails. On the left side, you can see that is a part of a stock rail or main rail. The extreme right is also a stock rail or a main rail, and near to the stock rail on the main rail on the right side, you have another rail, and this rail is nothing but the check rail. I am just writing C over it. So this rail is nothing but the check rail. Now these are provided, as the name suggests, it is provided to keep a check on the wheel so that it doesn't derail from the track. Okay, so we will be seeing that in detail in the crossing anyways, but for now just remember there is something called check rail. So in between this check rail and main rail also a gap has to be maintained, and that gap in red. Again, the function is same that heel blocks or distance blocks. The function is that they have to maintain some gap between 2 rails. So it can be either a stock rail and a tongue rail in case of a heel block, or a stock rail and a check rail in case of a distance block. But the main aim or the main purpose of both the blocks, heel blocks and distance block, it is to maintain gap. So this is the third component of the pointer switch. The fourth component, now you must be wondering that how come both the tongue rails, they move simultaneously and they move through the same distance. So that mechanism is possible because of this component, that is a stretcher bar. Now I have written stretcher bar oblique S. So either you can have one stretcher bar or you can have more than one, 2 or 3 depending on the section on this side. Okay. So if you see here on the right side, you can see a figure. It's a extreme right side railway track if you see. So you can now identify these are the stock rails, and then at this section, this is the toe of the section where the tongue rail starts, and at this point you can see the tongue rail coming into picture, and in this case the tongue rail is attached, or it is closely attached to the right side stock rail, and you can see a black color bar which I have circled in yellow and pointed an arrow. So this bar which you see, so this is nothing but stretcher bar. Now this stretcher bar, it is attached to both the tongue rails. It is rigidly attached with the nut and bolt collection, and then what is done is this stretcher bar, if you see, if you just follow the red line, so this stretcher bar is attached to some attachment here, and then it is connected to a system on the left side. So on the left side you can see a lot of nuts and bolts and pipe sort of structure. So this is a structure in which this mechanism, it helps in develops a pull and generally a pull effect. Okay, and the pull effect, it is converted into a lateral movement by the mechanism attached on this transverse part. So this, whatever is the pull movement of your mechanism on the left side, that is converted to the lateral movement of your stretcher bar. So if I pull this attachment, if you could see, there is a thin wire-like structure over here. Okay, I'm just highlighting it with some red circle or red oval. So that thin wire-like structure, that is nothing but the wire. If you see over here also, you have a wheel kind of assembly. So with this assembly, this wire is pulled, and that wire is connected to this stretcher bar through this hollow tubular pipe-like structure. So this pull movement of your wire, it will be converted to the lateral movement of your stretcher bar, and because your stretcher bar, it is connected to a tongue rail, so your tongue rail, it will be moving left or right. So that's all that we wanted, that we wanted our tongue rail to move either to the left side or the right side. That is, either we wanted it to be sticking to the left stock rail, or either we wanted it to be sticking to the right stock rail. So we got that movement only because of this component, that is stretcher bar. So the description is given on the left, the toes of both the tongue rails. Now you have understood the terminology toe. So toe is nothing but the starting point of a tongue rail. So the toes of both the tongue rails are connected by the means of stretcher bar, so that the tongue rail, it moves together through the same gap. Okay. So that movement is essential, and it is essential in the distance form also, that the movement should be together for both the tongue rails, as well as it should be through the same distance or same gap. So this movement that we need, that is possible only due to this stretcher bar, which is connected to both the tongue rails, and it is then connected to some mechanism on the extreme end of the track. Okay. So as I told you in the starting, you can have 1 or 2 to 3 bars depending on the requirement, that how heavy your section is actually. So if your section is very heavy in the sense, if the rails are made up of heavy steel and you have a lot of traffic and you have a frequent movement of the tongue rails, then in that case we go for 2 or 3 stretcher bars, so that the movement is easy, and your tongue rails and the system, it doesn't get damaged very often. In case of a smaller section where you have only the movement of tongue rail is quite a few times in whole year or a month, so in that case a single stretcher bar will also do. So as you can see in this case, you have only a single stretcher bar. Single stretcher bar that is highlighted. Okay. Now these are some more figures of the stretcher bar itself, but variation you will be seeing in the stretcher bar. Variation as in this figure, if you see the stretcher bar, it is a sort of a plate with some thickness. Okay, the one which I have highlighted in the rectangle, red rectangle. And in this second figure on the left side, you can see it is again a plate, but now it is the thickness is, it is having some thickness, and the width or the height of the plate, it is somewhat less than the one which we had seen in the earlier case. So this is also stretcher bar. If you see, it is connecting to the tongue rail with the help of a bolt assembly, nut and bolt, and then this stretcher bar, it is from its center, it is connected to this arrangement, and this arrangement is connected to some mechanism which is on the extreme side of your track. Now on the right side figure, if you consider, again it's a stretcher bar, and if you see here now, it's in a tube form. So earlier we had seen it was in a form of a plate, and the center of the plate, it was connected to some mechanism. So instead of converting the pull action into a lateral movement, so in this figure on the extreme right that you can see, so the stretcher bar is in form of a tube as well. Okay, it's a solid tube, and that tube is directly connected to this attachment on the right, which I have highlighted in red. So now this is the very frequently or the widely used mechanism that it is controlled pneumatically. So just you have some electronic device in this white boxes, and its control is with the station in charge or the person who is controlling the movement of the tracks on the main railway station. So that person just pushes a button or operates a button from his location, and the signal is received electrically in this box, and then the stretcher bar, it either moves to the right side or to the left side depending on what signal it has received from the operator. So this is the widely used stretcher bars nowadays that you can see in almost all the sections or areas of Indian Railways as such. And now these figures that you see, these are some advanced methods of moving your tongue rail. So on the left side, if you see, you have a tubular stretcher bars. These are not yet introduced widely in Indian Railways. So this photo is also not from India. So in this, you can see these white rods that you have, lateral rods, those are nothing but the stretcher bars, and they are tubular in form, and they have some attachment with the yellow color attachment which is there with the tongue rail. So these are hydraulically operated. So the efficiency of this tubular stretcher bar, it is more than the one which we saw in this figure on the right. Okay. So this was operated electronically. Electric signal was received, and then your stretcher bar is to move. Now that is being replaced by this tubular stretcher bar, which is controlled hydraulically. And on the right side, what you see, it is a figure of a railway track or a railway section in UAE, Dubai side. So in this, you can see there is no stretcher bar. This is the toe of the switch where the tongue rail starts, but you don't see a stretcher bar in between. So instead of that, what you have is what the stretcher bar do. It provides the lateral movement of a tongue rail. So that lateral movement, in this case, on the figure on the right, that is possible due to the rollers which are attached. So the tongue rail, it simply rolls over this rollers, and those rollers, the movement of the rollers, it is then controlled by some another mechanism which is fitted near the track. Now this track or this photo, it is ongoing construction photo, so only the rollers are installed, so that's why I have shown this. The complete installation is yet to be completed, so that's why you cannot see any mechanism attached to this rollers, but there is a mechanism which is attached to this roller as well as tongue rail, and the tongue rail, it simply rolls over this roller. So this is the these two, the roller techniques or the tubular stretcher bar, these are the advanced techniques, you can say, in this field or in this component that we have, that is stretcher bar. So the next component that we have, that is a switch tie plate or a gauge tie plate. Now before actually going to this fifth component, we'll be seeing the sixth component, that is sliding chair and sliding plate. So sliding chair and sliding plates, these are nothing but special plates which are provided under the stock rails and tongue rails. Now what we have is our complete mechanism. It is operational only on the concept that your tongue rail will be moving from left to right or right to left, and the stock rail will remain as it is. Okay, but both the stock rails and tongue rails, they are connected to each other at the heel section. So at the toe section, whatever is the movement that has to be done to the left or right, so your tongue rail actually has to slide smoothly over some component, okay, or a plate, you can say. So that plate or the component over which your tongue rail slides, that is nothing but this sixth component, that is slide chairs or sliding plate. Now we have seen already the concept of chairs in railways. So it was nothing but a component or the type of fastening that we had seen. which holds your rails. So chairs are something like this, and they hold your rail section in position. Okay, so this might be your rail, and this chair holds the rails so that the lateral movement is restricted. So those chairs are not seen, or you will not find those kind of similar chairs over here, but the chairs are in form of a plate. So if you see this plate, so this is the plate over which your tongue rail is installed, and this tongue rail, it will be moving to the right or to the left, and or it will be sliding. More than moving, the correct word is sliding. So the tongue rail will be sliding to the left or to the right, and the sliding is taking place on a plate, and this plate is nothing but the sliding plate, or it is known as slide chair also. Okay, the same is highlighted over here. Now here you can see this component. Now this is a chair, but this chair is just to resist the lateral forces. This is the chair from the fastenings that we had studied in the first unit. And this chair that I am talking about, a chair or a plate, that is nothing but the component on which your tongue rail will slide. Okay? So there can be a bit of a confusion between the chairs from the first unit that we have studied and this slide chairs, but just understand that this slide chair is nothing but a sort of a plate arrangement over which your tongue rail it will slide. And those chairs that we had studied in the first unit, the fastenings, that was nothing but a support, sort of a lateral support to your rail system. Okay. So this is nothing but slide chair or slide plates, and then below this slide chair or slide plate, again you have one plate which is nothing but this fifth component that we have, that is switch tie plate or gauge tie plate. Okay, so in the topmost figure you can see this is the plate. Now this is the lubricant which is attached, but this is the plate over which your sliding movement takes place. And if you see, this plate is provided throughout, so it is, these are the nuts and bolts through which it is attached to the sleepers. And on this single plate itself you have a stock rail which is fixed one. You don't have a movable stock rail, you have a fixed stock rail. And on the same plate you have a tongue rail which is movable. Okay, so the sliding plate, it provides such a base so that the fixed component, it will remain fixed, and the movable component will slide over the sliding plate. Okay. So it is nothing but a simple plate, and a lot of lubricant is added below the tongue rail so that the tongue rail will move or slide on this sliding plate. Okay, so that movement, it takes place due to the stretcher bar. Move in the left and right direction. Okay, so the same figure I have just shown on the left side, and on the right side what you see, that is a typical sketch from your book which I have taken. So at this section, if I just cut this section, so I'll be getting such kind of figure which is shown on the right. So you have a stock rail, you have a tongue rail. Now you can see the tongue rail, it is a full or a section of the tongue rail, it is similar to that of your stock rail, because at this location, at the heel location, your tongue rail, it has already moved from taper towards the regular rail section, and then it is fitted with the or connected together with the help of a fish plate or simply nut and bolt, and the gap between them, it is filled by a component that we are seeing, that is heel block. So this is the heel block which I have just marked in red. Okay, so this is nothing but the heel block. So this is heel of the switch, and similarly you have a tongue of a switch, or a toe of a switch. So for that, this is the stock rail. Again, we know this. This is the tongue rail, and the toe of a switch is nothing but the starting portion or the starting point at which your tongue rail starts. And there is something called throw of a switch. Now, throw of a switch is nothing but this gap through which your tongue rail will move, or when the tongue rail moves, it will move or slide covering this much distance, and that distance is nothing but throw of a switch. So it's very simple: toe of a switch and throw of a switch. So toe of a switch, it is the starting point of your switch where your tongue rail starts, and at the same location, whatever is the distance between your tongue rail and stock rail, so that is nothing but the throw of a switch. Okay. And this throw, this distance, it varies from again gauge to gauge. So for broad gauge, in Indian Railways I am talking about. So in Indian Railways, for broad gauge, it's 9.5 centimeter. For meter gauge and narrow gauge, it's 8.9 centimeter. But though I have said that, or Indian Railway has said that for gauge, different gauge it is different. But generally in India, you will be finding this throw value common across lot of sections. Okay. So this is the typical values of throw, and this is the section, how it looks at this throw. So just assume that this tongue rail, it has moved towards the right side, and it is sticking one face of the tongue rail, it is sticking the stock rail. So at that moment, if I cut a section, and this, it will look like this, which is shown in this diagram. So again, you have a stock rail, but now here your tongue rail, if you see, it is not a regular rail, it is somewhat in a L section. Okay, and if you see, it is not connected to the stock rail, because obviously you have to provide a movement. So it is not connected to stock rail at this location, it is connected to the stock rail at the heel location. Okay, so this is with the toe and heel of the switch and throw of the switch. So we'll stop here for today.